Hi, I'm Lyle from the Idle Red Hands.
I'm Jeremy from the Idle Red Hands. And today we have a review of the RPG Tales from the Loop. So Tales from the Loop received 5 Ennies at this year's Gen Con and is getting a lot of attention. The inspiration for this game may seem to be Stranger Things, the Netflix TV show, but in fact it dates back to Simon Stålenhag, the Swedish illustrator's 2015 book. Mm-hmm. So he does digital illustration, lore, and background for an 80s Sweden that never existed, where you have dinosaurs and robots and fantastic things in a very mundane setting of Sweden in the 80s.
And kids interacting with them.
Yes.
By interacting, it seems to be more kids with their backs turned to the photographer,
yes. Staring
at things. But yeah, interacting nevertheless.
Right.
The company is not walking away from the comparisons to Stranger Things. They're actually advertising on their own website that in the same vein as Stranger Things and E.T., Tales from the Loop.
Right.
So they realize that it's certainly drawing some eyes to the game.
Yeah, and that company is Modifius Games. Mm-hmm. So they're a UK-based publisher, and recently they've been translating a lot of Swedish RPGs that people haven't had a chance to play in the English-speaking world.
Yeah, so much so that I thought they were a Swedish company because my first introduction to Modifius was Mutant Chronicles and then Mutant Year Zero, and these are Swedish games from the 80s and 90s, I'll say.
Today what we're going to do is a book read review where we're going to not have played the game, but kind of go through the book itself, give you our impressions, let you know a little bit about the system, and give you our thoughts.
Yeah. So to start off, the book gets into the principles. And these principles really get you into the appropriate mindset to play the game. So they have the first principle is your hometown is full of strange and fantastic things.
Right. So a mundane setting kind of with unusual adventures and things that basically only kids are going to see.
Yeah. Number 2, everyday life is dull and unforgiving.
So that would be the reason you would leave your house with your friends to go on these adventures, because life is so boring and there's homework and green beans.
Yeah, you have your hideout and that's your escape from bullies.
Right.
Which seems to be quite a theme, is the protagonists are bullied. So if I don't know, what movies are out there for bullies that appeal to bullies themselves? I don't know.
We talked about maybe the first Rocky movie.
I guess if you're a big Carl Weathers fan.
Right.
But for the rest of us, we have E.T. and the other thing, Goonies.
Yes.
Yeah. And number 3, adults are out of reach and out of touch.
Yeah, so this isolates the kids and doesn't give them an easy out. I think if you could, just go to the police, that would be a very short adventure.
Yeah. Is there a monster in the sewers and that's what's been killing? Oh, that's great. Thank you for solving all of these crimes.
You're not just a bunch of little informants.
Yeah. It begs the question why they would doubt the kids if you're a town of 6,000 people and you have 30 murders within like 2 weeks.
Right.
It's like, I don't care what it is. We need something.
Any kind of lead.
Number 4, the land of the loop is dangerous, but kids will not die.
Because no one wants to see dead kids.
All right, number 5, the game is playing scene by scene.
Yeah, and going with the theme, the movie inspiration. So you're going from the breakfast table to after school to...
I thought you were going to say Breakfast Club.
Oh!
I was like, actually, Breakfast Club would be a little old for this game.
Right.
By that age, 17, 18, they've aged out of Tales from the Loop. All right. And number 6, the world is described collaboratively.
Right. For example, what does your mother look like?
Mm-hmm. Which is an example from the actual game.
Right.
Not from our fantasies. Right. So. Yeah, but it really encourages you to, make everybody a participant and everybody's contributing to the world. So you're not reading box text in a module. There's nothing wrong with box text in a module, but that's not this type of game.
Right.
Yeah.
So the world of the loop is an 80s that we've never known, that we've not
80s
seen.
that never was.
80s that never was, right? That's their tagline. Yeah, so the 2 big differences in technology is the magnetrine technology. So we basically have trucks and ships that are lighter than air, that are floating on magnetic fields, and so people are seeing this, and this is part of their everyday life. So in this setting, it's not strange, but it can give you clues to what company or who is involved in certain mysteries. And the other technology is self-balancing robots.
And guess which one came from Japan?
You're right.
One is from Russia and one is from Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this all takes place in 80s Sweden. And the book does a really nice job of giving you the flavor if you're not familiar with what would be popular, what kids would do in this place in this time, they give you a list of the top 10 movies, the top 10 songs, and even the top 10 RPGs. So you have things like the original Mutant and the Swedish version of Dungeons and Dragons, which is Demons and Dragons. Apart from this kind of setting information to give you a flavor of that time, they also give you locations, a variety of grocery stores, convenience stores, newsstands.
Sweden has them. Yeah.
Yes, right. Where the kids would hang out and may have some NPCs they would interact with. They do this for Sweden in the 80s, but they also do this for the US in the 80s. So there's a setting in the fictional city, or not the real city of Boulder, Nevada. So Boulder, Nevada is a 80s America, and the kids have the same kind of situation that they do in Sweden. So you can play in either of these settings.
And I learned that in Boulder, Nevada, they don't have gambling within the city limits.
Right. They learn something new.
Yeah, so it educates.
Yes.
Educates you.
They also give you the option to set this game in your own hometown or wherever you think it would be interesting, as long as there's a loop.
Which you can just put in there. It's not like you need to have a particle accelerator actually in your home.
Right. Of course, the loop, the titular loop of this setting is a particle accelerator that's buried under the ground. So it's powered by a nuclear power plant, and it creates the wormholes, the time lapses, the things that bring these fantastic adventures, into the kids' world, and basically give you kind of a limitless way to create fantastic adventures for the kid PCs.
And speaking of the kids, so they have different types, I guess you would call them, or archetypes. They've got the bookworm, the computer geek, the hick, the jock, the popular kid, the rocker, the troublemaker, and the weirdo. Again, bully really getting no love in this game.
Yes, no bullies.
So they have those, and then their character creation system is, I hesitate to say unique, but it's certainly different, and certainly a lot of fun. And one thing they do is you start with your age. And unlike a lot of games where age is just a number, here you actually use the number in the next two steps. First, you pick your age between 10 to 15. Once you hit 16, you're no longer playing. You're too old. You're in the Breakfast Club game, which I'm sure they're going to release later.
Right, that's coming.
Yeah, or 16 Candles.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah. I guess without the Asian stereotypes.
Yeah, I hope so.
Tone those down. Yeah, you wouldn't want to play Asian in the 16 Candles game. So you start with your age, and then let's say you pick 13. Now that means you have 13 points in which to assign to 4 attributes. Then after that you have luck. So with your luck score, it starts at 15 and then you subtract your age. So going with 13 again, that means you have 2 luck. But if you're 10, now you had less points in which to assign to your attributes, but now you have 5 luck points.
Those young lucky kids.
Yeah, so kind of the younger you are, the luckier you are, I suppose. Doesn't explain childhood leukemia. But in this game, that's what it is. Then you get into your skills, and you have 10 skill points to assign your skills. So that's pretty standard. I think we can wrap our brains around that. Then we get into some interesting aspects. Like you choose your iconic item. If we look at the bookworm, you choose your iconic item, your problem, your drive. Now drive here, of course, nobody has their license, so drive, we're talking more about motivation, not what car you use. Pride, relationship to other kids, relationships to NPCs, and your anchor, which might need a bit more explanation. Some examples in the bookworm, we look at mom, dad, teacher, local author. Yeah, so these are people that you go to in times of trouble. Yeah. Now, you can choose one of the ones that they offer, but you can also add your own. So it could be quite a quick character creation process or quite a personalized character creation process.
Right. Yeah, but very collaborative. I think that's the nice point about it.
Well, they make a point that the next steps are collaborative, in which you choose your hideout and you answer questions from the game master. But both Jeremy and I thought when we were looking at this that this could actually be all of these steps, like your iconic item, your relationship to other kids, your relationship to the NPCs, could really be fun to do it collaboratively. And I think a session 0, which is like a character creation kind of world building session, a session 0 for Tales from the Loop could be really, really fun, and perhaps one of the most fun session 0s of any RPG that I've seen.
I think so too.
Even games that are, for example, powered by the apocalypse, which I think encourage a collaborative character creation process, so that you have your relationships with people. I think it tops even that, in that the aspect would be fun, like people shouting out, no, I think your anchor should be this, or I think your relationship to the NPCs should be that, I think this should be your problem.
Yeah, I think that'd give you a nice variation in the group, and not have everyone running home to mommy. Yeah, it would be a nice...
and people are drawing from different movies that they've seen, like they're drawing from Goonies or E.T.
So the system for this game is very interesting, and it's basically the trouble that the kids get into. So
and it's called Trouble.
It is called Trouble. Yeah. So the dice mechanic is a D6 system, and basically you're creating dice pools based on your attributes, plus your skills, plus any modifiers, which could be items or contributions of other PCs or maybe even NPCs. And you need to roll that dice pool for skill checks and to find out kind of, what the kids can overcome, what they can survive.
Yeah.
And you're rolling D6, and a 6 is a success. So you're trying to get at least one success in all of your rolls, but additional successes can power your skills to allow additional effects. So you could affect an NPC, affect the situation in the world, or affect other players with successes based on your skills.
Some tasks would require maybe 2 or 3 successes.
Right.
I think it starts at difficult and then goes up into almost impossible.
Right, and they do a nice job of giving you that flavor. Like if you're going to attempt something impossible, everyone's going to have to go in together and get those 3 successes. So yeah, it's very interesting. And the failure of these checks results in conditions. So conditions is the system they use instead of death or hit points. And you acquire these conditions kind of based thematically on what's happening. So the initial 4 conditions are upset, scared, exhausted, and injured. And once you have one of those conditions, it gives you a negative modifier to any of your future rolls. But once you acquire a 5th condition, that condition is broken. And that means an automatic failure, and you need to leave the scene. Mm-hmm. And this is where the anchor comes in. So the anchor is the only person or the only place where the kids can get rid of these conditions. So based on talking or interacting with your anchor, they relieve your upset, they patch up your injuries, they help you rest and relieve your exhaustion. So it's a really nice system that there's no blood and guts, but there's stakes to what the kids are doing.
Yeah, by broken don't necessarily mean the kids.
Yeah, they don't.
Body is shattered.
Maybe mentally and physically, kind of.
Your anchor is a doctor
right.
Try to reattach your spine.
Those skill checks are what the players have to do as the kids as they encounter trouble in their mysteries.
And mysteries is the name for adventures in Tales from the Loop. And in the book, they break up the mysteries into 2 main sections. One is just a general idea of how to run a mystery, and then they give you 4 specific mysteries that form a campaign, if you will. Mm-hmm. Now, the general way they recommend that you run a mystery is 6 steps. They introduce the kids, introduce the mystery, solve the mystery, showdown, and then aftermath and change. I think the first 4 steps are pretty self-explanatory. Maybe the other 2 might need an explanation in how aftermath and change are different. Aftermath, from what I can tell from the book, is just kind of the wrap up in the story, and it kind of explains why no one's going to believe the kids the next time there's a mystery, because they've cleaned up the evidence, they've hidden the bodies. So I mean, kind of like why X-Files every season Scully still doesn't believe.
Right.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it after that movie.
Yes.
The first movie.
We've got to reset to 0 before next week's episode.
Yeah.
So.
And things like when we showed you the bookworm and the other character types, the iconic item. I mean, that's the one thing that they might keep. But if they collected other items in the game, you maybe explain how those got lost for the next session, so that they have a rocket launcher or something. They're not going to have that every time. Yeah, I doubt if they'll ever have a rocket launcher, but it's a bad example.
Right.
Yeah. Now, change though is what the characters want to change on the character sheet. If you look, maybe they want to change their problem because something happened in the mystery, and they think, oh, this problem is no longer appropriate, or they want to change their relationship to NPCs or even the other kids. Then they can do that, and that's what the change is referring to. You can also age a character. Again, once the character becomes 16, they've aged out of the game.
Right.
So if somebody chose to do that, they're basically saying either I don't want to play this game anymore, or they're saying I want to make a new character. Yeah, I guess you couldn't age like 2 years though.
Right.
Like everybody else is kind of staying the same, and I'm now
I'm a little-
jumped from 10 to 60, and I just
Well,
want to make a new character.
There are time slips in the game, so maybe it is possible.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. They got caught in the room and they've aged to 16 or 60
Right.
as well.
Yeah, so you get additional skill points to spend, or you get additional points to spend on skills, but you'll lose a luck.
Right. So that's what the change is versus the aftermath. Then it gets into the specific mysteries, which they've broken into seasons, which is odd.
Yeah, because Sweden doesn't have 4 seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Neither does Boulder, Nevada.
Right. It's
So-
a lot of summer.
One of these things doesn't work, but and the seasons aren't winter, and short summer. They start at summer, then they go into autumn, winter, and spring. And we're not going to get into the specifics of the mysteries because we don't want to ruin those for people. But we'll just say that it starts small and gets bigger.
Right.
And it does seem to be designed to play as a campaign. So you have a very small problem or a very small mystery at the beginning, and then you end with something a lot more serious at the end in the spring.
Right. And as you know your character better and you know the system better, I think that will present more challenge and make it more fun to actually finish the campaign.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense when you have a game that doesn't have levels, so to speak. Like, how do they differentiate that? And I think these mysteries do set that up for you. So I would strongly recommend if somebody were to play that is to play through the mysteries that they have in the back of the book, because then it would give you as a game master an idea of how to change up things. Yeah. So what did you think of the game, Jeremy?
So initially, when I saw this on Kickstarter, I was not interested, and the setting didn't sound very exciting, and I didn't want to play kids, but after reading the book, it really charmed me. I think it's a very well-constructed setting, and I would definitely recommend this as an alternative to what you may be playing. There's no death of the characters. It's much more full of that nostalgia of 80s films and Spielberg and things that would be a much welcome kind of change of pace to dungeon crawling and battle axe swinging. I think it's a nice setting that is presented really well and gives you some nice restriction, but then a lot of freedom to explore kind of fantastic adventures.
Yeah, I think charmed is a good word for it. It's like a charming book.
Yes.
And you don't see that a lot for RPGs. I, like Jeremy, was not interested in this setting at all, and reluctantly picked up the book or tried it based on a recommendation from you. And yeah, the book really won me over. I would give kind of a conditional recommendation. I mean, both of these are recommendations, but whether or not it's a strong recommendation or a weak recommendation is whether or not you could play this as a campaign. So a strong recommendation for me is go out and buy the print book. A normal recommendation is to stick with the PDF, which I will do. And I found the book very charming. It really sold me on the world and really stayed consistent throughout the book, and consistent to the principles that they present at the beginning. And yeah, I kind of fell in love, but then once I got to the mysteries, it kind of reminded me why I didn't want to get it to begin with, in that I could see these mysteries as being really, really fun one-offs. But I'm not sure if I'd want to play the game for any extended period of time. Whether or not, I might be willing to play the 4 mysteries in the back of the book, but whether or not I'd want to run and do another year in game time of this. So yeah, I'd be happy to do it once in a while, but for a campaign, I might go to another game system. But certainly, like Jeremy alluded to, or stated, it's certainly a nice break from
Yes.
a lot of the other games out there.
Yeah. And the presentation, the book itself, the illustration is wonderful, and the design of the book is very clean and very, very nice to look at. So it's it's a well-made book. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see somebody who even if they didn't want to play it in campaign mode, defying my recommendation, getting the print book, just because the design is actually so good. It's
yes.
a nice looking PDF. I'm sure it's a nice looking book as well.
It's much heavier as a book than a PDF.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. It's pretty light. Well, I hope you found this review useful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And in the comments, do you agree with Jeremy's strong recommendation, my normal recommendation, or do you think this is all hype?
Yes, and if you'd like to hear more about Tales from the Loop, Check the link below for our audio podcast where we discuss Tales from the Loop in more detail, as well as the Netflix series Stranger Things.
Right. Bye.
Bye.